They say hypocrisy in politics is somewhat of a minor sin. I don't quite know why they consider that to be a minor sin, but nevertheless, this is kind of where we are. You have a Democratic Party that, while Obama was in office, cares not that Obama is locking up whistleblowers. Doesn't care one iota. Can't be bothered by it. The moment that Trump gets in office, all of a sudden we must protect the noble whistleblowers. Nobody gave it a second thought. The party, for the most part, was in lockstep. Nobody questioned it. Not even the media questioned the hypocrisy of that particular act. Nobody cared. Even in the case of rape. Apparently, it's not rape unless a Republican does it. If it's a Democrat, especially a Democrat that you yourself are backing, maybe you give it a pass. Maybe it's not that important. Maybe you start talking about other things in regards to the fact that that particular candidate is being accused of rape. When Brett Kavanaugh, during his hearings, when those hearings were taking place, I was on the side that thought you got to give Ford the benefit of the doubt. I didn't take it at this perspective that the woman was lying. I thought Kavanaugh could potentially be guilty. And, this notion of putting this guy on the bench under this scenario seems a bit dicey to me. The Democratic Party didn't have the votes in order to stop Kavanaugh because they lost the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the presidency. And they lost Obama's Supreme Court pick because Obama and the party was so weak they didn't even fight for their own justifiable pick, Merrick Garland. In that situation, you had the Democratic Party pull out every stop at their disposal outside the context of the political system in order to try to stop Kavanaugh's hearing, with everybody pillar to post screaming, "Believe the woman! Believe women! Believe women!" You had Simone Sanders, like right here, making this case, gotta believe women.
Investigating and taking a woman's charges seriously. And if that is, frankly, if that's the message that they are going to send,
let her finish her point.
then I believe that women all across this country, come November 6th, are going to hear that loud and clear, and I think they're going to send their own message, because that is who this election will be decided by. Women.
David Urban, let me.
This is about power.
The Republican Party is not believing women. You got to believe women. Kavanaugh, he sounds guilty. You got to believe women. This is Alyssa Milano. Look at Milano. She's standing by Ford. She's a well-known Democrat. She says at the top, "I believe Dr. Christine Blasey Ford." I believe Ford. Strong, straightforward statement. You have this Democrat. While I appreciate the sentiment behind the Believe Women slogan, the issue isn't belief. The sexist dirtbags on the Judiciary Committee seem to believe Dr. Ford. They just don't care. They don't care that she was assaulted. It doesn't matter to them. That's the issue. Again, within the same mindset, yes, you should believe the woman in this case. She came forward. No upside in her coming forward, and she's being viciously attacked. Believe the woman. Common frame, common theme. The Democratic Party, they were very clear in what they believed when the Kavanaugh hearing was taking place. They lined up on this notion of MeToo and said, you should believe the woman in this process. Agreed. Agreed. But what about in this process? What about this one?
Again, it's difficult, but for the record, what substance did he bring up in this instance at EEOC in his office? What was the content of what he said?
Well, this was a reference to an individual who had a very large penis, and he used the name that he had been referred to in the pornographic material.
Do you recall what it was?
Yes, I do. The name that was referred to was Long Dong Silver.
To recount for us where each of the allegations that you have mentioned in your opening statement, each of the incidences occurred, physically where they occurred.
You testify.
That's pervert Joe Biden, who's asking a woman who's bringing sexual claims, hey, where exactly did he touch you again? Let's be very specific about the area. Basically, Joe Biden tanked that case. Joe Biden saw to it that that case, for the most part, was utterly and entirely buried in order to get in order to get, what's his name, on the bench. Yeah, in order to get him on the bench. Look, they knew that going in. Meaning Joe Biden had a history of inappropriate behavior. He had a history of touching women or smelling women's hair inappropriately. So this wasn't one of those things that wasn't necessarily known. And again, in that particular case where Joe Biden was Needle Hill during the Senate Confirmation Committee, you had the situation where Joe Biden did everything in his power to put a knife in Anita Hill's claims, allowing him to take the bench. Despite that, Lady Gaga thought it was perfectly okay, this did not age well at all, to do a video with Joe Biden.
She was not only a great friend, but a fierce advocate. Lady Gaga has been the voice for people who have been forgotten and people who have been abused. Until it happens to you, well, it happened to her. And she's shown enormous courage. And we want to make it real clear. It's on us, it's on everyone to intervene, to stop abuse when they see it, and when they hear about it, to intervene. It's no man has a right to raise a hand on a woman for any reason other than self-defense, ever, period.
And that's not to leave out the men as well.
That's true.
I am a sexual assault survivor, and I know the effects, the aftermath, the trauma, psychological, physical, mental. It can be terrifying, waking up every day feeling unsafe in your own body. But we're here to remind you that it's important to reach out to someone in your life that you can trust and to know that they will be there to help you. There will be someone to listen. Because you know what? It's on us.
So despite Biden performing and behaving that way in the the Supreme Court Thomas pick, they still would do videos like this with him. Now you have the case, this uncomfortable reality that these guys are now dealing with of this.
We were alone.
This is Tara Reid. Tara Reid is accusing Joe Biden of rape. And on top of accusing Joe Biden of rape, this gets that much worse because when she actually tried to tell her story, people who were supposed to be responsible for getting this information out and providing resources in order to help people who've been assaulted in this way turned their backs on her and did not back her in this pursuit. Let's hear Tara Reid's story first. And then I want to go to this weird departure from the perspective that they had during the Kavanaugh hearings, that now that it's Joe Biden who's being accused of an assault, a violent rape, all of a sudden they have a different tenor. How strange.
Just had me up against the wall. His hands were on me and underneath my clothes. Yeah, and then penetrated me with his fingers, whatever. I couldn't believe it was happening. It seemed surreal. I just felt sick because when he pulled back, he looked annoyed. Like he smiles when he's angry and you can just feel it emanating from him. And my body, I was shaking everywhere because I was trying to grasp what had just happened. And yeah, there was something he said that I didn't want to say. It's the thing that stays in my head over and over, like kind of stayed with me over the years. He just like pointed at me and he said, "You're nothing to me."
Now, two things. This is an allegation. And there is a difference between an allegation versus something that is more confirmed. By the same token, you can't disregard this allegation, especially if you had a Democratic Party that subsumed the MeToo movement, screamed for months on end that they believed women, and now you have a situation where one of those women have come forward and said that the person who they're backing, who's the front runner in the Democratic primary process, is effectively a rapist. If you're going to believe women in one case, don't you have to believe her in the other? Here are Democrats and their responses to this. Todd Jersey. And Joe Biden might have raped someone. Pam Keith. That means he still has a lot of rapes to do to catch up with Trump. Also, I highly doubt that's true. Yeah, don't believe women. This person. I would fucking vote for my rapist if it meant getting Trump out of office during the pandemic before our entire country dies. I do not fucking care. And this one, for the sake of argument, say Joe Biden is a rapist. Trump is also a rapist, so then why not vote for the rapist with the better policies? This is basically the Sam Cedar one concentration camp less argument. Hey, the rapist with the better policies is pragmatic, right? Unfortunately, no, this is not pragmatic. That's still, at the end of the day, voting for a rapist. We also have Alyssa Milano, who is a big fan of Joe Biden, who was, again, I believe for it. But in this case, not so much. Not so much. I am proud to call Biden a friend. He has been a leader and a champion on fighting violence against women for many years, and I have been fortunate to accompany him to events of survivors and listen to the stories they emphasized and comforted them. Now, this took place back in April 2019, last year. This was before the claims came out about the Joe Biden rape thing. However, it was clear that Alyssa Milano was a Democrat first and a woman supporter second. When the story came out about Joe Biden infringing on Lucy Flores, smelling her hair, kissing her, touching her inappropriately, things that are clearly beyond the pale, there was no reason to disbelieve her story. And the fact of the matter is, it's stuff that we've seen Joe Biden do before. So it's not necessarily out of character. And yet, Flores was roundly attacked. She was roundly attacked and maligned, as opposed to her story being believed and it being a disqualifying event. Democrats didn't all that much care. The same Alyssa Milano, who said, I believe women, came out and said, I believe women. It is my opinion that you can't conflate the violent criminal sexual acts described by Dr. Ford and an uncomfortable invasion of personal space and boundaries described by Flores. These two things aren't the same, no matter how hard your network tries to spin it. Okay, fair enough. Say you want to dance between the raindrops on something like that. What about Tara Reid? Tara Reid was a violent rape. Tara Reid was everything and more of what Kavanaugh was. In this very specific case, you had Joe Biden, who she's accusing of violently penetrating her with his fingers. Not something that she wanted, not something that she was asking for, something that he violently did. And then he got mad at her afterwards because she wasn't necessarily all that thrilled about the fact that he just raped her. What about that? What about that, right? Don't you have to say something about that? Joe Biden is your guy, fair enough. But who do you supposedly represent? Are you tokenizing the MeToo movement, or does it actually dig into you? That's the question that needs to be asked. Always remember what Rose McGowan said about Alyssa Milano.
Co-star Alyssa Milano gets a lot of credit for helping MeToo go viral. So, are you proud of her?
I don't like her.
Why?
Because I think she's a lie.
Why?
Do you think I don't know these people? I'm not looking at this from the outside. I have a lot of experience. I know she's married to a CIA agent. Do the math. Who's behind Time's Up? CIA. Where do they meet? CIA. Who needs good PR? CIA. Who are part of the pimp problem? CIA.
These are very powerful people you're talking about.
They are. So am I.
Now, the wild part about this, CIA or Time's Up is also the organization that effectively scrubbed Tara Reid's claim of sexual harassment. When Alyssa Milano was pushed on this, because people kind of noticed, wait a minute, how are you supporting this rapist when you were, during the Brett Kavanaugh hearing, flipping out that the person, that people had the temerity to not believe or to disbelieve Ford? You kept screaming, I believe women, I believe women. You moved the line back when Flores came forward and made the point that your guy effectively assaulted her. But what about this? How do you move the line back that much more? The way you move the line back, the way you deal with stories like this is you just don't mention it. When she was pushed on this, she comes out and says this: Bernie supporters, a threat for you. I will continue to do what's right for the people in this country no matter how you attack me. I'm tough. I've had 4 years of practice from Make America Greaters. I know all the tricks and you can't silence me. I supported Bernie in 2016. Keep reading. And it's this really long thread. You know, it's not in this thread anything talking about Joe Biden potentially raping a woman. Nothing about it. You can read it for yourself. Nothing about it. She's making this as if people are pushing her on this, not because of this brazen hypocrisy, not because you've taken a position in the past when they were Republicans, but now that it's a Democrat who you are backing, you all of a sudden don't seem to be all that thrilled about having this particular conversation, or at the very least representing the interests that you've accused or said that you represented, and making this somewhat known. Mainstream media has ignored the story. The television networks, they've had Joe Biden on for interviews and entirely ignored the story. It is utterly astonishing. It seems to only be rape when a Republican does it, to mainstream media and apparently to Milano and these other Democrats. Or they will rationalize it with the one concentration camp less argument of, look, if you're going to get a rapist, why not pick the rapist with the better policies? That's where they are in their politics. And we have this person, the woman who hates snake emojis, so much so that she's willing to betray everything that she vocally claimed to represent. Medicare for all, yep, can't do that. Those snake emojis, and those Bernie bros who, were writing those things on Twitter about me, I don't particularly like that. So going for getting rid of student debt, going for Medicare for all, going for a Green New Deal, all that stuff is off the table now because those fucking snake emojis. Yeah, that same Elizabeth Warren. She, having a conversation with Chris Matthews, makes the point, tokenizing women. I believe the woman. I believe the woman. Keep in mind, Elizabeth Warren was the woman who had to take on a super PAC for $14 million, something that she said she was going to do for the entire time she was running, because those dastardly men and their penises swinging about were taking super PAC money. And because of that, her lone woman in the mix was forced to take a super PAC. Can't stand her. But let's hear her talk about how she believes women.
The former mayor of New York said that to a pregnant employee.
Well, a pregnant employee sure said that he did. Why shouldn't I believe her? I'm just really tired of this world. This one is personal for me. It really is.
But you believe he's that kind of person who did that?
Look, pregnancy discrimination is real. And we have gone on and on and on where people say, oh, I can't really believe the woman. Really? Why not? Yeah. Mayor Bloomberg has non-disclosure agreements for who knows how many women. And it's not just the one. The whole point is, how can you actually trust someone who will not just say, look, I'm going to waive on non-disclosure on sexual harassment and discrimination. Yeah. Anybody who has a story to tell can come tell.
Sure, I agree with everybody deserves a credible response when they make a charge like that. My question about him, you believe he's lying?
I believe the woman.
You believe he's lying?
Which means he's not telling the truth.
And why would he lie? Because just to protect himself?
Yeah. And why would she lie? I mean, that's the question, Chris. Why do you assume
it's a striking
that
event,
he's the guy?
I just want to make sure you're clear about this. You're confident of your accusation.
Look, all I know is what she said and what he said. And I've been on her end of it in the sense of discrimination based on pregnancy. It happens all across this country, and men all across this country say, oh my gosh, he never would have said that. Really?
Okay.
I believe the woman. I believe the woman. You know who hasn't said anything about believing this particular woman, Tara Reid? The woman who believes women. Elizabeth Warren. Mum. Just like the other Democrats in the race, just like the mainstream media, just like all of these other Democrats on Twitter who don't necessarily want to deal with it, just like Alyssa Milano. Mum. Your guy just got accused of rape. And your response to this is utterly atrocious and just outright sad. How on earth do you respond and behave in the way at the Kavanaugh hearing that you guys did, then turn around in the moment that your guy gets hit with a credible accusation, and you have organizations that literally squash the fact that she's accusing him of rape, and on top of those organizations squashing it, mainstream media pretends that this is not even taking place. Entirely trying to erase her from the conversation in order to get the senile man over the finish line. I guess my point is, Democrats apparently only believe that it's rape and that the accusations are potentially credible when it's aimed at somebody they don't particularly like or when it's aimed at a Republican. And keep in mind, this is the exact same party that has screamed about quote unquote Bernie bros and that these Bernie bros were being aggressive towards women. They wouldn't shut up about it, even making this kind of implicit sexist charge that Bernie Sanders told Elizabeth Warren to get out the race. They gave that weeks of airplay. Joe Biden being accused of a violent rape, they can't even bring it up. And the other Democrats who do know it just come to the conclusion it's pragmatic to just choose the rapist with the better policies, man. That's pragmatism. That's astonishing. That's utterly astonishing. I'll end this here. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks all.